My guest this segment is Eddie Lucarelli. He's the CFO of Canopy Rivers, trading on the TSX Venture under the symbol RIV. Eddie, welcome.
Thanks for having me, James.
Eddie, let's Welcome back to the show. Really big show today.
Welcome back, James.
Thank you, Edward.
Welcome back to you. You've been missed.
I've been missed. I've been remiss in my presence.
I've been remiss
in my duties.
In missing you.
Missed my duties. Missed my duties. You know what kind of a show we got today? Spectacular.
A really big shoe?
Spectacular. I want to point to our new sound guy, Connor. Thank you, Connor, for being here. We are going to experience a new level of sound production here, which I think you people in the audience are really going to appreciate. So no more cutting remarks. They cut to the quick, and near die doth we. No, that's horrible. Anyways, and we also have Mark in the control room, who is now a professional inline production dude.
Yeah, no, he's very professional.
Yeah, so you're going to see some,
as is Connor,
some new differences here.
Connor's professional.
Today we have Eddie Lucarelli, CFO of Canopy Rivers, joining us. We have Jim Hamilton, the CEO of Neptune Wellness Solutions. We have Malay Panchal from Global Cannabis Inc. And that's just the start of it. But I bet you would be really interested to know why the markets are moving the way they do. And here's the news.
What's that noise? Your phone? Whose phone is that?
Now the headlines moving our markets today. WeedMD released its third quarter results ending September 30th, 2018. Highlights included revenues of $2 million, representing a year-over-year increase of 461%. Revenues of $5.2 million in the first 9 months of fiscal 2018 were reported, representing a 784% increase compared to the same period during 2017's fiscal year. They also completed their first shipment of adult use cannabis to the provinces. And they completed their first international shipment of cannabis genetics to MetaPharm, a privately held Queensland, Australia-based licensed producer. 1933 Industries today announced its financials for the fourth quarter and the year ending July 31st, 2018. Fiscal 2018 results included record sales revenue of $12.6 million and overall gross margins of 49%. Total assets increased to $41.3 million and product offerings expanded to more than 120 SKUs available in over 500 stores. Valens GroWorks announced it has established an expanded research collaboration agreement with Thermo Fisher Scientific. As part of the collaboration, Valens will utilize Thermo Fisher's instruments and consumables to deliver and develop analytical methods for the study of cannabis. The findings of this collaboration will be promoted through application notes, publication of peer-reviewed articles, conference presentations, and webinars. And according to the Wall Street Journal, Altria Group, this is the company that controls a diverse portfolio of tobacco brands like Marlboro and also alcohol brands like wine from the wine sector like Stag's Leap. They're in talks to take a significant minority stake in troubled e-cigarette company JUUL. Now, you might remember JUUL is the company that's falling under a lot of criticism from the FDA because the product is attractive to young people. JUUL was last valued at $16 billion in a private fundraising this summer. The tie-up between the two companies could give JUUL experience that Altria has gained through decades of regulation and litigation while giving Altria a jolt in revenue. JUUL declined to comment. Altria said it doesn't comment on rumors and speculation. Body and Mind Inc. and Australis Capital have announced a collaboration on an investment into Greenlight District Holdings by way of a $5.2 million U.S. senior secured convertible note at a rate equal to 20% per annum. The note is convertible into 89.75% of the shares of GLDH at the option of the company. BAM's investment in GLDH was funded in part by a $4 million secured loan from Australis. The transaction provides a beachhead for BAM to establish operations in California, which will assist BAM in rolling out its brands beyond Nevada and Ohio. It also expands exposure to retail and provides BAM access to a seasoned retail management team that can also assist in adding value to the Ohio and Nevada platforms. And those are today's headlines. What do you make of it, Ed? The big news of the day.
I see WeedMD came out with some results.
I want to see how the stock's reacting to those results. That's what I want to do.
Yeah, well.
I know those fellows quite well.
Do you?
Well, I know I've been out to
Keith
dinner with
Merker's
them.
a regular on our show.
Keith and I met Keith and
chairman is Mike
and Bruce.
Yeah.
And then of course Michael Kraft's involved.
He's still the chairman?
I think
Chairman of the board?
COB.
COB. Corn on the cob.
Corn on the bob. Corn on the...
Great. So while I was away, what did I miss?
Well, you missed whatever you missed it because those days aren't coming back.
Really? How is my...
But you had something over there.
Yeah, well, I did. In fact, we have a new studio in Los Angeles now.
We do.
Yes, we're going to start shooting. We're going to start bringing you the best of the U.S. cannabis sector. Starting January 15th in 2019, there'll be 5 days a week, 5 shows per week coming from
5 shows a week?
Silicon Beach, California. Yes.
How are you gonna do shows there and here? How are you gonna do that?
You're going to be amazed. I have actually found a credible source of cloning technology, which we're going to take public as well. And in the meantime, I'm going to see, what it's like to have 2 of me on the planet.
You know, I had a really good interview with Terry Donnelly of Hill Street Beverage.
Oh yeah, no, I've talked to Terry before.
That's actually, and we had some of his product here on the set.
Did.
You weren't here.
Oh, when we were here, we had some of his product.
What did you think? Okay, what did you think? Because I'm going to tell you what I think.
What did I think of the product?
Yeah.
Well, there was no booze in it, so right away it was not
high
that impressive to me.
No, but
and there was no cannabinoids in it.
But
they have shelf space all over the planet, and so
are you kidding me?
As soon as they put some booze and some drugs in the bloody drinks, I'll be all over it.
But they've won awards. That's one of the best tasting, what I call a near beer.
Yeah, near beer. That's what we used to call it.
Yeah, near beer.
Near beer.
One of the best tasting near beers. And he's got medallions all over the.
I know.
And I like it.
Last time he was on the show, the stock was 19 cents. I mean, with me, and the stock rocked up to 35 cents. Now, when did you have him on?
Well, it was 16 cents, 16 and a half cents 3 days ago. I think their earnings came out today because the stock's now 19 and a half.
Okay.
They did $1.6 million in the first year, or the year ended June 30th. The first quarter of 2019 was just released.
You got a chart up? No.
Soft.
Okay.
Well, I'm saying that this looks like a bona fide
beverage company,
and it's only capped at 12 million.
What's wrong with that picture?
He's won double gold medal for his wine that was tested in where? California IA.
California.
Cab Sauvignon, no alcohol. And he won a double gold. A double gold, unanimous.
I tried the cab, and I thought it was great. But before we delve into the charts, which we will do after this next segment, Eddie Lucarelli was here, and he's the CFO of Canopy Rivers, and our conversation was scintillating, to say the least.
Scintillating.
I guess this segment is Eddie Lucarelli. He's the CFO of Canopy Rivers, trading on the TSX Venture under the symbol RIV. Eddie, welcome.
Thanks for having me, James.
Eddie, let's start off with the financial reporting from Canopy Rivers, which was, in a word, surprisingly great, at least in terms of the context of the biggest, all of the Canopy earnings reporting, which are, as a category, horrible. So you reported 3 cents in earnings. Tell me how that all played out.
Yeah, so that, we were pretty proud of the headline number. That's largely driven by the share price performance in the quarter ended September 30th for a lot of our investments that do flow through our earnings on a mark-to-market basis. So we were able to report net income of $11 million and comprehensive income of about $38 million. And that underlying stock market volatility, that's going to influence our results going forward. But what we're really focused on are the catalysts and the developments in our business and in the underlying portfolio companies as well. Is the quarter where one of the milestones we hit was the completion of our RTO, which resulted in us being trading on the TSXV under the symbol RIV. And as part of that, we did a private placement that was co-led by CIBC, GMP, and A Capital. and it was CIBC's first foray into the cannabis space. And we all know that the big five Schedule I banks have taken a cautious approach in varying degrees to get into the cannabis sector. So it was really important to us that they were able to say, point at us and say, you're the one that we want to play with as we enter the space.
Right.
We also made our first international investment during the period. So we invested in a company called Canopy, which is focused on industrial hemp cultivation, extraction, and R&D activities in Italy. That company has a partnership with the Department of Agriculture at the University of Catania. That department has extensive research that they've been doing for a while on hemp cultivation techniques and other things related to the plant itself. And then through an outsourced farming model there, that company is going to be able to purchase wholesale hemp from the farmers and then turn it into organic CBD oil. So we're very excited there. Our partner there is an entrepreneur that's had a very successful background in nutritional endeavors, dermocosmetic endeavors, and pharmaceutical as well. And he's also very well connected in the local community. So we're thrilled to see where that company is headed.
Sure. Okay. So tell me about some of the other portfolio holdings and how they've done and performed for you. What's really driving the earnings sort of impetus?
Yeah. So a couple of things that are going to impact our accounting is that a lot of our earnings in the short term are going to be driven by changes in share prices of our public market investments. Over time, as the greenhouse assets that we've invested in come online, we're going to start to see those earnings flow through our earnings as well. One of our greenhouse assets is our farmhouse joint venture, which we have in Leamington, Ontario, where we're a 49% joint venture partner there. Our partner on the other side of that, it's the controlling shareholder group behind a leading North American commercial agriculture and produce conglomerate. And they have extensive experience with large-scale cultivation, marketing, distribution, brand development, things like that. So we're very excited to see where that asset goes. As part of entering into that joint venture agreement with that partner, we did structure a global non-compete with them that did have the U.S. carved out. And then last week, we actually announced that we were going to enter into a loan agreement with Farmhouse, where we were able to provide up to $40 million of debt financing to that entity at a good rate of return, 12%. And in addition to that, we also restructured that non-competition agreement to afford Canopy Rivers additional rights in favor of U.S. expansion opportunities when that would become legal for us to participate in that. So we're super excited to see what that company is going to be able to do going forward. Our partners there have experience in Canada, the U.S., Mexico, Panama, Guatemala, different jurisdictions. So when you see news coming out like we saw recently with the Mexican government, the incoming government introducing legislation that might create this regulatory framework in Mexico, it's great to have a partner already with us that we know has good knowledge of the local landscape there.
Wow, so you think Mexico is going to be a pretty important market?
It was great news that came out, and it's definitely something that we're keeping our eye on, similar to a lot of the other jurisdictions in Europe and other places that are continuing to put out that involvement of news around what new regulatory frameworks are emerging, whether it's the medical frameworks evolving or being introduced, or even some jurisdictions talking about recreational at the early stages.
Wow, interesting. So apart from the jurisdictions, what are the sort of subsegments of the cannabis industry that are evolving into the public eye now most excite you?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at our portfolio and how it evolved, there's definitely a lot of companies that, started off essentially as cultivators. And when you look back sort of 8, 9, 10 months ago, to be a cannabis company, you essentially either had to have a license or were in the process of getting the license. Now we're really starting to see that proliferation of businesses that are attacking ancillary parts of what the cannabis economy looks like. There's the the report that came out from Deloitte that everybody seems to quote that references the size of the market from a cultivation perspective, but also what that multiplier effect is of all the ancillary parts of the business that are going to develop. So we're starting to see those companies come to the market more and more. By some estimates, there's thousands out there right now that already exist. They're very appealing in ways that they might not be subject to the same risks and regulations that come from being a licensed company. So there might be a better opportunity to transfer those companies or that IP across borders. It's kind of analogous to investing in the picks and shovels when the gold rush was happening.
Sure.
Technology is obviously a big focus area for us. I think data-driven approaches are really going to form where a lot of the industry is headed, and companies that have the ability to commercialize data and understand the products and understand the consumers are going to be very well positioned for success. And we're definitely taking a look at that. And like I mentioned, emerging markets, there's new news coming out every single day about a new jurisdiction that's looking at regulatory reform in one shape or another. And what we've seen, and we saw it in the development of our partnership at Canopy, having a good local partner with good local connections and the ability to really scale up a business in these foreign jurisdictions is going to be incredibly important in terms of determining what's going to be a level of success for a Canadian company looking to make international investments.
Sure. Do you think that as Europe progresses, and forgive me, I like Europe, I like to talk about Europe more than California. People say California is the biggest market. Obviously, Europe's a multiple size of California as a market, and it does operate as one jurisdiction sometimes.
Some ways, yeah.
What do you think the likelihood is of uniformity of regulation across the Eurozone as an entire block as it pertains to, you know, regulation of cannabis, THC, CBD, et cetera?
I mean, I think because of the construct of the European Union, and you know, we can kind of make an assessment of what that's going to look like based on what we've already seen in terms of company or countries coming out with their own independent regulatory frameworks, but still having that opportunity for maybe some cross-border transport of goods because of the trade framework that exists within the European Union. I think eventually we'll probably get to an end state where everything is harmonized. Like everything else, you're making a guess in terms of how long you can get there. And just with the information we have now, we are seeing them take sort of a country-by-country approach, and we have to adopt our international investment strategy accordingly.
Right. Interesting. So then what's the what's Canopy Rivers looking at in the next 4 quarters in the context of opportunities where you want to deploy capital?
Yeah, so I mean, at September 30th, on our September 30th balance sheet, we reported that we had $105 million of cash. We had about $25 million of that earmarked for current portfolio companies, so that left us with about $80 million after that. We certainly don't want that cash to be sitting in a bank account just earning 2% interest. We want to put that to work. So we announced that investment in the loan agreement with Farmhouse last week. And then that remaining $40 million, I think you're going to see us deploy that very quickly. You know, we're very fortunate to be in the position we're in terms of the pipeline of investment opportunities that are available to us. And a lot of that does come from that halo effect of being associated with, you know, arguably the largest and most sophisticated cannabis company in the world in canopy growth. And Bruce is traveling the world every single day, meeting new people and getting new investment opportunities pitched to him. So we're constantly evaluating a number of opportunities in the space, and I think you'll see us put that capital to work relatively quickly.
Awesome. Okay, well, Eddie, that's great. Fantastic update. We'll come back to you in a short while and hear how you're making out. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks, James. Great to be here.
How do you like that?
$100 million sitting in a war chest.
A war chest. $105 million, 3 cents a share, while everybody else is bleeding. Dying on the street there. Canopy Rivers is one of the great unsung heroes of this market, as far as I'm concerned. Full disclosure, they are a client.
What I would like to, and nobody has this answer, but if you came back in a year from now, would that $100 million be worth a lot more than it is today? In other words, will there be better buys in a year? Well, we don't know. I mean, it's like asking me, you know.
Well, let's see. We've got the most astute investors in the space, arguably, handling a portfolio of assets and a war chest to deploy further. And do you think it's going to be worth the same as it is in a year? No, I think it's going to have a multiple on it. I mean, unless the market goes down. But even in the down market, where are you going to manage your exposure to the cannabis sector better than in a company run by investors who are professionals in the space? That's the value proposition for Canopy Rivers, in my view. If you want to invest alongside the pros, well, this is where you do it.
Yeah.
So,
is this basically, in your mind, a holding? Is it like this is to buy pieces of things out there and put it all together and make, you know, is this?
Yeah, well,
they're not looking to do to replicate what.
Well, look at my chart. So I've got a chart up right now of Canopy Rivers.
Okay, let's take a look.
And since it's gone public,
it's still around $4.
The market's been in a bit of a sell-off state. It's $389. So
it's about 4.
Today the low was $370, high was $394. But yeah, it's still, not reflecting, arguably, the combined value of its assets, its cash, with its management and expertise.
The problem, of course, with management expertise, it's hard to put a number on it. As opposed to cash, which you can put a number on because that's what it is, right?
Because it has a number.
Yeah, but that's the
Yeah, that's a good point. It hadn't occurred to me.
I mean, it's, you know, cash is simple and debt's simple.
Cash is king. Cash is king. So let's pull up a quick chart here of, I'm going to drag up my, where'd it go? There it is. I'm going to look at the cannabis charts here at Midas Letter.
Yeah, I see we're taking on a little water here today, or a little bit of...
We have a little bit of red. If we look at my charts, my indexes here.
Not big red, not big
Midas
red.
Letter Large Cap Cannabis Index is down 0.9%, or 68 points to 7502.
Yeah.
Which, you know, let's pull up the large screen of that. Like, that's quite the correction. Essentially, we're back to where we were in September, which is, or rather mid-August. We're almost back to mid-August before the entire participation of cannabis got started with the $5 billion level. This was back here, was the 10% level, back in the January of 2018.
Yeah.
So, you know, we've given almost everything back that we got out of Constellation's $5 billion injection. So, would you say that the sector is oversold?
Look, it's oversold, and the S&P, you know, that's not an easy, it's not a, I can't give you a black and white answer there.
Why not?
Because I'm not sure if it's like we had a bounce yesterday, but we had such a big bounce, now we're having a counter bounce.
Okay. So
you know,
if we
it
were
was
to look
almost
at,
too much yesterday.
Okay, so
615 points in the Dow.
Yeah. But is that a decisive reversal, or is that a dead cat bounce?
I think it's, you know, the market's looking for a bottom. I think we need, you know, I think for the marijuana space to really move along here, I think we need the bigger markets to cooperate.
Okay, so I'm looking at the SPX right now, and
I know it. What's it, down about 15, 18?
No, down, it's up. Up, Ed.
What?
Yeah.
So it's turned. So
Yeah.
that's good. That's bullish.
Yeah. No, look at the chart up on the monitor over there. So that's the intraday S&P.
Oh yeah, that's come back nicely. Where have I been?
I don't know. Well, so and then you know, relate that to, I'm going to use this example to talk for a moment about one of my favorite. Actually, I would say, I can't say my favorite client because that's just not correct, but certainly one of the ones I'm most excited about, and that is Whalen Group. So there's Whalen's intraday. So it started off lowering. It's crawling up incrementally as we approach the close of the day. And the reason for that is that it's starting to emulate the S&P. So there's the S&P.
Yeah.
And let's see, wait for it. Whoa! No, there's the S&P today.
Where?
On my NDI, right before your very eyes, up on that. And then there's the, there's the Midas Letter Large Cap Index. Not really at all reflecting, although if I went to a one-day look, look at that. Does that look familiar to you, Ed? So there's the Midas Letter Large Cap Index, all companies over 500 million. There's the S&P intraday. Large Cap intraday, S&P intraday. Do those look similar to you? Yeah.
Well, you know, like, you know, I think we're in that realm of something that's called like poetic license. Like
poetic license.
Like, where, you know, poets can sort of say what they want and with disregard to all the grammar rules, right?
Right, because they're poets.
Yeah.
And that's the license?
You
know, you have to be licensed to
the
get a poet?
SPX looks very, like I'm telling you, it's very constructive here. I thought we'd have a big correction today. It did correct for a while. Now the candle looks good. Looks like we're going higher.
Well.
And Leon Toohey, by the way, you know who Leon Toohey is? Very famous technical analyst.
Nope, don't know him.
2 days ago, he said one of his main indicators, which measures bulls to bears, there's 2-to-1 in favor of bears. And you know what he said? He said, buy everything, because when there's that many bears, it never goes down.
Really?
Well, that's how he thinks.
So that's a contrarian interpretation.
Indicator. Indicator.
Yeah.
In the swamp with the gators.
Straight up and down.
Hey, you know, look. Markets go up and they go down.
No. Why?
Apparently.
So are you excited about our new California thing, Ed?
Absolutely. Well,
you know what the great thing about this is, no matter what, when the weather's crappy here, it's always going to be better there.
I'm Ed-sighted.
You're Ed-sighted?
It's
All right, I just want to take a moment.
Okay, take a moment.
I want to say hello to some of the people that I know and I've missed over the last few days because I've been away. Mary Kemp, hello, Mary.
Oh, she asked a question yesterday that
exactly. Jovante Music is here, wants us to talk about T-God. We'll get around to that. Departures Capital. Aaron from Departures Capital is saying, hello, James, looking forward to our meeting. So Departures Capital is another YouTube show where you can get information about stocks using technical analysis. And he's going to join us here as a guest on our show, and we're going to put him to the test and see if we think he knows what he's talking about. But we already know he does. That's why he's coming on the show. Anyways, Aaron, great for joining us. Jimmy Doyle is here. Jimmy Doyle, one of the...
Jimmy Doyle?
Jimmy Doyle says,
is
what's
he here
up,
in
lads?
the flesh?
He's here in the electronics.
See at Mercado at...
there we go.
For $5
James.
booze.
Garrett Turner says, preach, James. Don't know what he means by that. Preach.
Oh, he wants you to preach.
Oh, praise the Lord. Praise the Lord, and you will be rich.
And you'll be...
Garrett, hope that was the preaching you meant. If it wasn't, clarify, and I'll try to preach what you want me to preach.
How about reach for the preach?
Reach for the preach. Ooh, I'm going to have one of those right now. No, just kidding. James Albert wants to know. Hello, James.
Is that what you call him? You're a preacher?
Yeah, my preachers. James Albert says, hey, Ed. For some reason, I was more interested in you coughing and drinking water during the Brockstein interview. Anyways, what did you think of WeedMD's numbers today? Ah, that was a slight backhand remark.
Well, I've got a little tickle. Around this office, it's you got to be careful.
Yeah,
you know.
Hashtags.
Me too. I now know what that means.
You do?
Yeah, my lawyer called me this morning and told me.
Uh-huh.
No, I want to see the numbers again. I mean, they did about they got $5 million revenue now for 9 months. Is that right?
Yes.
And I did not see the
bottom line
income statement and the.
So in other words, you don't have a clue.
I do have a clue. The stock's done nothing. The revenue grew.
And
what about, did they lose money?
Did they?
I
haven't had a chance to look. But.
Well, I'm going to look right now.
Yeah. Ed and Shoulders, new line of the day from Prince Tezok.
Ed.
Simon Cleary is here. Hello, Simon. He says, is it possible when Ontario goes retail, it will be a catalyst? Ontario goes retail. I'm assuming that you mean when we get private retail sales, will that be a catalyst? I think it'll be a catalyst to balance sheets for companies who are able to sell product through the Ontario private channel. Is it a sector-wide catalyst? Maybe if everybody in Ontario decides to 1 month just stock up for the rest of the year, and there's this anomalous $5 billion in sales in cannabis in Ontario 1 month. That's possible because let me tell you, there are a lot of people smoking pot in this province right now. A lot. Like the whole
everybody's smoking pot.
The whole Ontario cannabis store sold out in like a day.
It's cheaper than drinking.
It's cheaper than drinking. You know, I've become a patient under the healthcare system just because the recreational system is not able to satisfy my needs.
Yeah. I just quickly looked at the weed numbers, WeedMD, and I know that they were going to be merging with a company, and because they didn't, because somebody went in and scooped it, they got a $10 million payout. Do you remember that? Like there was a fee paid to WeedMD because the company they were going to merge with.
Oh, the break free from
the break free. The break free?
Break free.
Or break fee. I'd rather have a break fee than a break free.
Well, if I can break free for a fee, then that's the break free fee.
So there, it shows $2 million revenue and $9 million profit, which you can't. So
that was the break fee. That was
well,
the
of course
bottom line.
It is. It has to be. What else could it be?
Well, I don't
you
know.
Can't make money.
Not that smart.
If you don't have revenues, you can't.
Sure, you can. You can be dumbass lucky, and you make a lot of money. I mean, look at all the cannabis investors.
I know, but in
around.
operating business, is that an operating item, or is that
no, that's a one-time.
Is that a prior?
That's a one-time win.
what do they call it? I used to study this in accounting.
Snake eyes.
I used to be an accountant,
Windfall.
remember? Windfall. No.
Windfall.
No. Extraordinary item.
Extraordinary! Like you, Edward. Extraordinary. Extraordinary.
I'm so
Good luck.
extraordinary.
Anyways, let's not alienate our audience.
But it's a great company, great management. They got lots of cash, and they've got some financial people in charge that run businesses.
Wow.
I like the company.
Why didn't you say so?
I just did.
Okay, good.
Want me to say it again?
A question for me now. The Velvet Voice podcast says, "Hi James, have you any thoughts on the Jerome Powell speech the other day in terms of its hawkish sentiment, interest rates going up?" Well, it did strike me that the Jerome Powell speech made it very clear that they were hoping to normalize rates at what would be a little bit higher from here. That has obviously already had the chilling effect of all of the large cap companies have stopped buying back their stock. Is that going to cause, the interest rates are going higher? Yes. Is they trying to get inflation in check? Yes. Why? Because the monetary policy that is essentially categorized as quantitative easing must soon end, and that won't soon end unless they regularize or normalize interest rates. What's your take?
Well, when Steve was on the show yesterday, I made the point that this was something I read off a monitor in an elevator. Been spending a lot of time in elevators lately.
What are you doing in the elevator?
I've sort of got a place there. I just sleep there.
It's private. None of my business.
Very private. No. So Donald Trump actually said the Fed is a bigger problem than China.
Yeah.
And so he was saying, hey, this trade thing. But the Fed's got to keep rates low for
Trump
America.
Said that?
He said that, and then they asked him, well, what's your opinion of Mr. Powell since you've appointed him? He says, I'm not that impressed with my selection. No, I got to give. He's a guy that doesn't pull punches. Just because he picked him doesn't mean he has to like him.
Yeah.
Anyway, something to that effect.
Does he dislike him because he told Donald Trump, this is the way it is and this is how it has to be, and so Donald Trump says, oh, you're not saying what I wanted you to say, therefore I don't like you.
Look,
I don't want to get into that.
I know. All I'm saying is that look, oil was $76 7 weeks ago. We had that whole kerfuffle with Saudi and that reporter and all this, and he kept saying, Saudis, get your oil price down, and 7 weeks later it's dropped from 75 to 51. I bought gasoline yesterday, 92 cents. So
the Saudis said, look, you pretend that our prince didn't actually order the murder of Jamal Khashoggi, and we'll drop the oil prices.
I think we have to try to look at it objectively.
Isn't that objectively?
No,
did you hear the tape? I've heard the tape.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no doubt
I believe you.
that they basically butchered the guy on the spot in the embassy under the direct orders of the Prince of Saudi Arabia, who is now a certified murderer, absent a court conviction.
I don't think he's now a certified murderer. I think.
Well, no, that was a couple of weeks ago.
But I think.
but we still.
I think this is his first.
Oh, it's his first offense, so we should let him go. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, you let him go.
Okay. So look. Where are we here?
Where are we?
Here we are.
I'm back in Ontario.
Where? Here. Take off the W, and the answer's right into the word. Where?
Whoa.
Here.
Where here? Nice one, Ed. Anyways, we also had a chat today with Malay Panchal, who's the CEO of Pure Global, and this is what he had to say.
Okay.
I guess this segment is Malay Panchal. He's the CEO of Pure Global Cannabis Inc., trading on the TSX Venture under the symbol PURE. Malay, thank you, and welcome to the show.
Thank you, James, for having me.
You bet. So, Malay, Pure Global is a newly arrived LP to the whole mix. Tell me about the company. What's the growing footprint? What's your game plan?
Sure. So I'm the founder CEO of the company. I founded the company about 4.5 years ago. I'm a pharmacist by trade and come from a background of developing IT companies as well. I've deployed my first B2B startup in the pharma logistics area, connecting pharmacies to their suppliers. Then went on to community practice where I deployed a holistic pharmacy concept. Had hopes of taking that online, but with the cuts that had come, decided to leave that sector and went on to industry where I worked with some of the largest brand and pharma manufacturers as well as CROs in developing data-driven solutions for better patient adherence and CRO automation. Came across the MMPR in 2013 and was dumbfounded by the fact that a new sector was being born, and not too many healthcare professionals were leading some of these companies. You've got people with all walks of life, and coming from the pharmaceutical background lends to some benefits in understanding how to deliver medicine, healthcare products to the communities that need it. And so the company has set out to carve out a space in the medical and the pharma and the wellness segments, developing manufactured products. We'll be experts in cultivation, but really our focus is being sort of the cannabis 3.0, where it's going to be those post-derivative products. So we're a newcomer into the sector, but we get the huge benefit of correcting the mistakes that our predecessors have made and building really a better, faster ship.
Mm-hmm. So you're focused 100% on the medical segment.
Well, the medical segment is our primary first foray into the segment. We have big relationships with some of the largest medical groups in Canada, namely Altria Medical, which has over 700,000 patients in their database. Very excited to be working with them, where we're going to have a direct IT interface where patients, once they register, their medical document comes right into our system for faster processing. We're also going to be doing a real-world evidence-based study with them, one of the largest of its kind, which will give us observational data to take to the medical community, both nationally and internationally. So definitely medical is a main aspect of our business, but from that we're also looking to develop the pharmaceutical and wellness products that consumers are going to desire.
Okay, so you recently announced on November 15th that Ross Hendry had joined you from Corby Spirit and Wine. That sort of indicates at least acknowledgement of the significance of the recreational sector. So is what is it about Pure Global that I, as an investor, what would you tell me as to why I should invest capital with you, whereas all these other companies by comparison would be said to have a head start?
Sure. So again, as I mentioned, we get to be the second wave advantage, if you will. We get to learn from the mistakes of our predecessors. We get to focus on where the high margin products and opportunities come to be. People that we bring to our team, like Ross, we've got world-class individuals really coming from CPG, supply chain, and distribution backgrounds. It's going to be branding, it's going to be white labeling, manufacturing quality products. What we are setting out to do is becoming one of the most trusted cannabis brands. A lot of our predecessors have sort of rushed out of the gates, erected things, but not taking the meticulous steps of doing it sort of the right way, if you know what I mean.
Sure.
Lending to reduce risk. So for us, slow and steady is going to win this race. We're going to develop a niche of products that will be sort of in the premium category, giving us better margins and hopefully a leg in the international space as well, which is our focus.
So how much money have you raised to date?
We've raised about $25 million to date. We had an RTO round, which we raised about $11 million, and just did recent convertible debt of about $10 million.
Okay.
So we're well financed and no debt.
Is this going to be focused strictly on the Canadian marketplace, or are you going to move towards international as the markets open up? What's the game plan?
Canada really is for us a platform to do our R&D and our development strategies. It's a springboard really into the international markets. For us, the larger space is definitely international, several-fold, Europe, South America, and eventually the United States once the regulations come online there.
Okay, so sounds to me like, being from the pharmacy background, are you going to be focusing on developing sort of products along the nutraceutical, bioceutical line that don't necessarily need FDA and Health Canada approval, but nonetheless speak more to the medical side or the general wellness side of the cannabis sort of array?
James, you hit the nail on the head. That's exactly what we're going to be developing. Is we like to say everything but rec. For us, the consumer market is primarily comprised of wellness consumers, and really CBD is going to be infused in every wellness category. It's a multi-trillion-dollar industry around the world, and so indeed developing those nutraceutical products, the food and beverage products that are going to cater to the wellness consumer, and then of course that lends to a lot to the medical side, where it's going to be catered to those medical patients that need particular dosing options, where physicians can be more confident on the way they prescribe and taper and infuse proper medication, as it were.
Do you think that the development of the industry on the wellness side is ultimately going to act as a lightning rod to the big pharma companies or the big wellness brands globally who are going to start to say, well, we missed the boat on the whole cannabis thing, but let's just pluck the best in class, best in breed companies out there?
Absolutely, James. I believe that wholeheartedly. Both on the pharma side with the pipeline of farm products that we're looking at. We've got a dozen categories that we're looking at now. These are long-term plays, so we're looking at about half a dozen that we'll initiate with. Ultimately, these could be individually multi-hundreds of millions of dollars of sales around the world. So pharma will definitely be looking at scooping up the right players that have planted the right seeds, if you will, and have the right product pipeline. And similarly, the nutraceutical or those CPG companies, instead of creating things themselves, looking at operations that have proper acumen, proper setup, GMP grade, ISO grade facilities, and robust brands with white label capabilities as well.
Mm-hmm. So is Pure Global looking for partnerships or investment from large pharma brands at this point?
Absolutely. We're in talks with a number of pharma companies to do joint ventures with. We want to develop products in conjunction with these top players where they may have products already in certain categories that we can add CBD to it potentially and use their distribution channels or branding and R&D methodologies and so forth. So absolutely, we're looking to partner with the top players both on the pharma side, nutraceutical, and the distribution channels as well.
Okay. You mentioned that you were also going to have expertise in the cultivation side. What does your growing footprint look like in Brampton, and what is your production capacity of the whole operation at this point?
Great question, James. So when I started this operation as a pharmacist and applying for a production license, the first person I needed to hire was a production lead. And so I set out to find the most talented grower I could. And after interviewing hundreds of MMAR types and which are more enthusiasts or cottage industry experts, when I finally met the chap that we've hired, Nader Gishlaki, PhD level, master's in biotech. These are true scientists that are coming into the sector now. There's a science behind commercial horticulture. We're taking that science and we've actually developed a patented vertical farming system. This will enable us to actually use more of the square footage and develop more canopy in a vertical environment.
Wow.
So this is still in the process of being validated. We have 40,000 square feet in Brampton. Multiply that by 3 or 5x. It will give you an idea of the kind of production that we're anticipating when things are said and done. And that is currently being deployed. We started our model with the ability to do distribution, buying in bulk, knowing that there will be a lot of product in the marketplace and growing supply. Get to market, get our customer base started, and then come online with our cultivation and high capacity production methods.
Okay, so is there products in the marketplace now, or if not, when will they be available?
So we're just in the midst of obtaining our sales license, so it's imminent.
Okay.
We had our sales inspection just about over a month ago now. We just submitted our last response, hopefully from Health Canada, which were very minor observations. So we're anticipating our sales license in the coming days or weeks, really. And we're right now sitting at the gates ready to launch with our e-commerce setup, all our back-end system setup, customer service, our product packaging line all ready to go. Inventory, we have about $3 million worth of inventory ready to start deploying to just the medical community. And our focus really will be the medical community for the next couple of quarters because there's a huge insufficiency in servicing that community. They're going to OCS in places, to empty shelves, to limited availability.
Right.
And so the medical line is sort of the avenue we've chosen at the onset.
I myself became a patient because I couldn't get delivery of what I'm not going to say needed, but what I like to have on hand, which is completely CBD oriented. I'm not really interested in getting high anymore, higher than I am right now at least. And no, but so that's interesting. So what's your distribution channel at the outset?
So the distribution channel, again, we've got the engagement with this large medical group. We're also affiliating with many cannabis groups, clinics across Canada. We're looking to acquire a clinic actually pretty soon that has a patient base as well.
Oh, great.
And so getting to the medical community that way, branding ourselves in the medical community as experts in terms of the medical angle. So that'll be our first foray. A couple of other channels that I can't quite speak to yet, but that'll get us started out of the gates, get the the wheels in motion, and then as things develop, we'll increase the throttle.
Fantastic, Malay. Well, that's an interesting story and one I will be following with interest. We'll have you back in a quarter's time and see how you're doing. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you, James, so much for having me.
Well, there you have it. Pure, a new contender. Well, a newish contender.
And they raised what, about 25?
Yep.
And that was at their first raise?
I think that's the total raised entirely.
Okay.
But I like the idea that they are, you know, they're going to be focused on products as opposed to growing, though they will be growing. And the fact that he comes from the pharmacy industry, I find to me that's attractive. So I haven't really spent much time delving into Pure, but I think I'm going to now. Because that's kind of like what we're looking for is, you know, people exploring the alleys less explored by the others, the incumbents. So we had some interesting conversations during that about the charts.
The charts.
Got to look at some charts.
Let's take a look at some charts here.
All right.
Now,
So, tab, Alt, tab. Nope. Push Alt first.
Alt.
And then tab. What do you got?
Okay, now we got Canopy growth up here.
All right. Pull that up and draw us a picture, will you?
Well, you know, look, you know, it's been a difficult market. What time frame we got here?
6 months.
6 months. Okay, we got this big top here, big top here. We've had a rally all the way back.
Big
We've
top
come down.
here, big top there. That sounds like a circus.
Yeah, big. Yeah.
Look at Free is down to 1061.
Yeah.
Down 74 cents.
Yeah, it was down to 10.0. I think it was close to single digit on Tuesday.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Since you were talking about Hill Street, it's gone up 2.5 cents.
Well,
there you go. Now, Canopy's down 95 cents today.
so big support here, right there and there, right? Mm-hmm. So that's you look, and this used to be the resistance.
The resistance is futile. Join the resistance.
Jesus. Okay, so look, folks, viewers, you know, we really don't want to see Canopy break this support and start looking like it's heading back to this, which was where it was prior, just before they announced the Constellation
prize,
the $5 billion,
the Constellation prize,
the Constellation prize,
the Constellation prize. Well, see, this is the thing. Again, this reflects the large cap index. Like, look at this. I've got the same thing happening. That's the 1 day, but.
Can I just make a statement?
Absolutely.
So if in fact this were to go back to that, and then they're saying the value of the company is the same as it was before the $5 billion came in, that would be sort of a, you know, I don't want to say slap in the face, but it would say the market already baked it into the cake. If it went back there, why would it go back there? I mean, that's a major, unless it was dragged down by macro events.
All right.
My hands don't follow my hands here.
Well, it looks like you're doing something altogether different.
I know what you're thinking. I know you did it here.
All right. So again, looking at the large cap chart here.
But I was doing it to scale. Yeah.
So you agree that, you know, that basically we've given back everything since Constellation prize was offered.
Yeah.
And so does that mean that this should be the support level down here at 6,000?
We should be. Yeah, we should be. That's your indice.
Yeah,
index.
That's the large cap index.
Yeah, yeah.
You like that? Okay, let's look at now the CSE index and see if it's got the same pattern.
It's got a pattern.
Pattern recognition.
Pitter pattern.
Look.
Pitter pattern.
Similar pattern.
It rhymes.
Yeah. So this was a beneficiary of the Constellation prize, but it also has given back the prize.
You know, I don't like to be, you know,
negative,
or, you know, perceived to be walking underneath a cloud.
Okay.
You know, I got to tell you, like these charts, and again, you know, we saw that Constellation come in, and it gave rise to a tremendous run for a couple of months, two or 3 months, right? Mm-hmm. And since then, we've been sort of treading, like I thought we'd have follow through today, but we didn't. But then, you know, the market had a big day yesterday, up, 600 points on the Dow. We had good action across the board, and yet today, it's like, nobody cares. And I got to tell you, somebody cares.
Right. Who?
The shareholders.
Adrian Kwan wants to know, with some of the supply agreements out there, what do you think about the LPs rebranding products for resale without any material alteration? Supreme, for example, supplying Sensi Star to Tilray. Tilray. Yeah, he got me there. He wrote Tilray.
Did he really? Did he write?
Yes. You know that Brandon Kennedy is never going to talk to us again because we've inadvertently got
Adrian
half
Kwan,
the crowd.
you know, I got to tip my hat off to you on that one. That was pretty subtle.
Anyways, so what do you think?
You can become a writer. Okay.
He's probably got bigger fish to fry. But he's writing questions, so technically he's a writer. Who's not a writer these days?
Everybody's a writer.
Exactly.
Paperback.
So, but
writer.
what's the answer to that query? Do we have a problem with that? I don't think so.
I don't think we have a problem with that.
No. You know what I have a problem with is, and I'll tell you, this is kind of similar, and my experience with all of the government distribution system is that by the time it gets from the grower to the customer, it is essentially dehydrated. Like we wouldn't smoke that. You wouldn't do anything but make resin out of it because it's like it's dried out.
Too dry? Why not?
Well, it's dried out.
You know what they used to do? Remember the days when you bought a little bag, like a dime bag? You used to take a slice of apple and throw it in there.
Yeah,
Remember that?
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah. No, you've just given away the idea.
Shit.
Cannabis apples.
Somebody's going to come up with
put apples in your cannabis.
apple can.
Apple can, but if you put too much apple in relative to the amount of cannabis, what do you get?
Apple cider.
Cannabis that
Apple sauce.
Cannabis that doesn't burn but tastes damn good.
I know that it can't burn in you.
That's right.
That's no fun.
Yeah, I used to put carrots in my cigar box at home.
Carrots. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Fresh carrots.
When we were younger, we couldn't afford cigarettes, so we smoked cattails. You know what cattails are?
Yeah, bulrushes.
Not cat o' nine tails, but
No.
cattails. Bulrushes.
Bulrushes. Yeah, we used to smoke those too. You must be from
Well,
Ontario.
you can't. Yeah, Ontario.
We couldn't afford cigarettes either, so we broke into people's car and stole theirs. We were kids, mind you, of course. Too young to smoke, but old enough to steal.
So once we were in my dad's cornfield, this is pretty funny, and we brought out some newspaper and we started smoking corn, the hair on a cob ear of corn, and then my dad saw the smoke, so he goes out in the field, and we had these chairs out there, and I saw them coming. I said, "Quick, pretend like we're reading the paper." We're sitting in this cornfield. Stalks of corn really high, and there we are. What are you doing? Reading the newspaper in the middle of a cornfield. Anyway, I thought that was a pretty good.
So you've been into stocks for a long time.
Corn stalks.
Corn futures. Well, those would be corn pasts. Anyway, so you smoked.
We smoked corn hair.
Corn.
So yeah,
You
corn
smoked bulrushes, and now you're smoking weed. Well, not right now, but from the government-supplied marijuana. Anyways, I guess that's our way of answering Adrian's question. Is it's not so much that we have problems with wholesalers supplying retailers. It's the problem that the whole process of selling regulated weed causes so much trauma to the weed itself that by the time you get, like, I have not had what I would call a super high quality smoking experience with any government supplied marijuana yet.
Really?
Yeah. In the heyday of the underground growing in, I'll say, somewhere on the west coast of Canada, you know, you used to buy an eighth or a quarter ounce of weed, and it would be at perfect optimum moisture with a minimum of handling, because essentially the guy who grew it trimmed it, dried it, put it in a baggie, and you know the guy he sold it to took it from the big bag and put it in the little bag, and that's what you bought. Not run it through the dehydrator, not run it through the radiation, not run it through the testing thing, not run it through packaging, not run it through all these crazy processes Like those spinning machines that you see with all the LPs. You would never do that to cannabis if you were a craft grower. You just wouldn't do it. And so this is the thing. It's like, in some respects, I got to think that as this industry evolves, it's going to belong to the craft grower, because there's no way that an industrial scale grower can produce weed at scale that's the same quality as the craft grower.
You know, I was talking to somebody, well, I think it was on the show, and maybe you were there, but they were talking about how, you know, trying to grow pot in a very large, it's not easy.
No, it's not easy.
Yeah.
You might get one whole crop the first time, but boy, then the spider mites are going to be all over and up in your shit.
Spider mites.
Yeah, no, we got half an hour left. We're all good. How long is that? 10 minutes? 4 minutes? 3 minutes? We don't want to have to talk for half an hour straight, because then we got nothing left. Oh no, we got Neptune. I didn't see that down there. Oh, anyways, Edward, let's take a break from this scintillating conversation.
Yeah, maybe...
And did you know that there are courses teaching people how to grow cannabis professionally?
Yeah.
You did.
Really?
that's the right
you know what?
reaction. Adamo Barbieri is here, who's going to tell us how it's happening.
There is a need for trained and qualified professionals within the cannabis industry. Luckily for Canadian cannabis companies, Niagara College offers a program that will give you the skill set you need to work in the industry. This is the first college in Canadian history to offer up a program that gives you hands-on experience when it comes to learning how to grow cannabis. So we've had the greenhouse production program here at Niagara College for many years, and then we started seeing how much the cannabis program was transforming the whole growing industry, especially the greenhouse industry. We decided, okay, we need to start training professionals for that industry, and with medicinal being legal since 2001 in Canada, and then recreational coming, we saw the needs. We started this 2 or 3 years ago to say, how do we get a program to train professionals to work in this industry? So with the curriculum in this program, it's a postgraduate. You need a college diploma, university degree to get into it. And then we do the growing. So we're looking at the fertilizers, the pruning that goes into it, the integrated pest management. How do you control your pests, all to Health Canada standards, which really limit you to biological control. We have 24 students that start in September out of a pool of 300. We're going to have another 24 start in January and another 24 in May. So we have 3 intakes a year of 24 students.
I've always had an interest in plants, and I come from a background with a master's in biotechnology, focused in genetics. So I thought with the budding industry, it's kind of the right place, right time to start applying science to an industry that hasn't been able to legally do that so far.
Do you go home and try to grow your own marijuana plants as well?
Yeah, ever since it became legalized and you're allowed to grow 4 plants at home. I'm currently growing Critical Mass and White Widow. One is more sativa and the other one's more of an indica strain.
For the people at home, what's the difference between indica and sativa?
So sativa is supposed to be more of a head high, kind of energetic, creative buzz, whereas an indica is generally associated more with a kind of relaxed, kind of body high, kind of sit on the couch and chill out.
In the couch?
Yeah, in the couch.
There's a shortage of skilled, trained workers for the cannabis industry. It's a new industry, so there's not a lot of, the majority of people that have hands-on experience with the cannabis plant generally come from the black or gray market with a lot of underground growing experience, but have never been formally trained in an institution like a college or a university. So as soon as this program came up, I wanted to get into it. I definitely feel like at the end of this program, I will be more than ready for the cannabis industry.
We want to get larger because we found it's such a successful program. We will likely grow the program, but the big thing is we're about hands-on. We're not an online program. People come here, they're going to learn hands-on to grow, so you can't have 300 people, me standing up lecturing. You're not going to learn that way. Experts are predicting that as many as 150,000 well-paying jobs will be created in the sector in the next few years.
A degree in commercial cannabis production could be the ticket to securing one. For Midas Letter Live, I'm Adamo Barbieri.
Wow.
Yeah, I like that. He said he's going to grow the course.
And the market's closed.
And so, but what do you think, Ed, about in the context of growing that we were talking about?
Well, you know
You're
what?
talking about pest control.
To your point, like I think the craft grower, he's going to be the winner here.
Yeah, well, that's just it.
Because you're a connoisseur, obviously, aficionado. How many F's in aficionado?
Not so much.
How many? How many?
How many F's?
F's in aficionado.
One.
I already asked you that.
Yes, and I remembered after you corrected me.
Okay.
But anyways, so this is the thing. This is my point exactly.
Yeah.
You grow a small group of plants in a space, and it's no problem. But you fill a room with the entire identical species with perfect optimum growing conditions. Optimum growing conditions for plants are optimum breeding conditions for several species of insect.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of time till the wind carries the message across the country that, hey, over here, there's one big ass grow up.
You want to go over there? Yeah, that's right. You know what? I believe that. I think that makes a lot of sense. And maybe the government, in their infinite wisdom, when they said everybody's allowed 4 plants, they figured that's about all they could figure how to pamper. If you can't pamper 5, you got to pamper 4.
Because 5 is too many?
5's too many to handle.
It's like,
what am I going to do? I only got 2 hands,
Ed, I understand that they caught some footage on the security camera the other day. We got to talk.
Am I turning red? Well, I got caught. I must admit.
So this is what goes on when I'm not here, is it?
Yeah.
The cat's away and the mice are having a bloody vandalism, drinking, smoking, chicken choking sex party.
Chicken choking. Choke your chicken.
This is it, eh? So now that you know the security cameras are here, Ed, I guess you're going to be on better behavior.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No kidding. Well.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy,
okay.
oh boy.
Okay. Now
Okay,
what?
so markets are closed.
What's our next move?
What's our next move, Edward? You know what we're
Medmen's
going
up
to do?
15 cents. You know what? We got to talk about, this is...
What do you want to talk about?
Well, I think we have to bring out the fact that Golden Ridge shit the bed here this week.
Golden Ridge shit the bed?
Yeah.
I think that's a buying opportunity, isn't it?
Well, I hope so. But, I mean, the results, I thought, from independent geologists, not bad, but something's wasn't handled right. I mean, the stock had an exponential move, making it, and I was under the impression it was going to be $1.50, $2. I was actually thinking it was going to make me retire. No such luck there.
Wow. So what happened? They put out news.
Yeah, they put out, a similar type of news. They're talking about having a major porphyry there. And
okay, so I've got the press release up on my computer.
Yeah.
And Golden Ridge drills 319 meters of 0.42 grams per ton gold.
Equivalent. That's
Nope,
gold equivalent.
0.42 grams per ton gold, 0.34% copper, and 2.2 grams per ton silver.
Yeah, which equals certain...
0.96 grams per ton gold equivalent.
Yeah, okay, okay.
Okay, including 131 meters of 0.68 grams per ton gold, 0.55% copper, and 3.34 grams per ton silver. Okay, so here's the thing. They should have reported this hole, if you ask me, as a copper equivalent, because the best grade that I can see here is 0.55% copper. Now, if you blend that, 0.55% copper is 0.1% higher than the world's largest mines are mining right now. They're mining 0.45% copper. So the problem with this press release, I'll tell you right now, is this headline, unless you're a geologist or a long-term mining market guy, is gobbledygook to you. And all you see is small numbers with lots of decimal places, and all the numbers tend to be on the right side of the decimal. So it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that this doesn't look like such a great press release. So, you know, here's the thing, and this is why, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to go out on a limb and say this is why companies pay us to translate their story for them.
Really?
And this is why we
Is this company paying us?
No, they don't pay us, but that's because we would never allow them to put out a press release that is so egregiously technical that 98% of the readers who are not market people don't have a clue what this means. They don't know if it's good or if it's bad. Secondly, you're making all these references to other holes in this chart that only compound the confusion. So what is missing here is a one-paragraph interpretation, which should be the second paragraph, saying what this means is.
Yeah, I don't even know if they allow stuff like that. You know, I don't know if you can.
They certainly do allow a geologist to say what this means is the large porphyry that we seem to be proving out here continues to demonstrate its presence and continuity of grade at depth and along strike. And so then if it was our client, we would say, well, relative to other gold deposits and copper-gold porphyries that we've seen, and we can point to other ones that started with these numbers and became mines. So this is why I'm saying that's, I think, the problem with Gold Ridge. Now, I'm not upset. I own 600,000 or 700,000 shares of this. I'm going to start buying this stuff because everybody sold it. And it's like, this is good news.
That's the time to buy it. Oh, except I would say, now that the season's over, I don't know if that's the final news or not. That's what I don't know.
You mean that was the big one?
Well, I don't know.
Well, let's see if we recall what
I think
we were told.
We got to talk.
Which whole number was this?
We got to talk to
highlight H&K 18013.
013, 13. So 13.
13 and 7.
13. I thought 13 was.
So it was holes 1, 2, and 3 that we got. So we're missing a bunch.
Yeah, you know.
All right, we got to get. Let's get Blady on the phone. Call him right now. Get him on the phone. Let's see what's going on. In the meantime. In the meantime, we're going to.
This is for Ed to tell him that his computer is dying.
Yeah, my computer's dying.
You're running low. You may want to plug in your PC. You may want to.
Oh.
Okay, there, it's better now.
No, I don't think so. Where's the power cord?
Okay, I'll get the power cord.
I don't think we have anything left. Do we? Oh, wellness. Oh, yeah. You know who else was here today? Now, this is my first time meeting Jim Hamilton from Neptune Wellness. And I got to tell you, I had a great conversation with the guy. I don't think I've met anybody who's more well-versed in the actual state-by-state rules in cannabis versus THC in the eyes of the FDA relative to the DEA. And so this is the conversation I had with CEO of Neptune Wellness, Jim Hamilton, just a short while ago. All right. My guest now is Jim Hamilton, CEO of Neptune Wellness Solutions, trading on the TSX under the symbol NEPT. Jim, welcome.
It's a great pleasure to be here, Jim.
Jim.
It was a great pleasure to be another Jim. Actually,
absolutely, Jim. This could get repetitive.
Well, I have to tell you, I'm very excited to be here because I don't know if you know, you have a fan base.
Oh, really?
Or actually a groupie base. At least one.
Oh, okay.
And she is on our staff. She's on the West Coast.
Okay.
And she says, it's like I have lunch with James every day.
Well, whoever this is, I want to meet her and have lunch with her.
Yeah, you should. But,
great.
But it's a great pleasure to be here,
You
Jim.
bet.
Thanks
well,
for
thank you.
having us on.
Why don't we start with an overview? What is the business of Neptune Wellness Solutions?
You know, it's a long story, and it's a journey.
We've got time.
We are, first and foremost, nutrition wellness products people. I mean, this is the genesis not only of our business, but our team.
Okay.
And Jim, I have to tell you, I never thought I would be in the wellness nutrition business, but being a grad from Montreal in the mid-'80s, it wasn't so easy to find a job. And I was knocking on doors up and down these buildings here.
Right.
And I think I would have taken a job anywhere, but I got a job with a company called Hoffman LaRoche here in Toronto, which was at the time the largest vitamin and nutrition products maker in the world. They said, we don't have a real job. It's not in pharmaceuticals, but it's in wellness products. And I said, well, I would take it, you know, of course. But that was really a beginning of a career and an exposure to an industry I've absolutely loved, and I've spent my whole time there. And about 3.5 years ago, I joined a Canadian-based company, and I've worked with them around the world, by the way, a Canadian-based company called Neptune, based in Montreal. And these were the fellows that created the omega-3 krill oil business. Ah. And publicly traded, not just on TSX, but NASDAQ as well.
Sure.
And we recruited other nutrition products persons, including your fan base out on the West Coast.
Okay,
and,
great.
And our CFO, it comes from a nutrition products company called Atrium, recently acquired by Nestle. But we were one products business. We acquired another nutrition products company in Montreal. And, but we weren't really satisfied with the performance of our omega-3 krill business. And we did what is actually a little bit gut-wrenching for a lot of companies. The business that the company was founded upon over 20 years ago, we divested of. And so when the krill oil company sells krill oil, it's a little bit gut-wrenching, but we decided investors were better served by positioning the company in segments better characterized by growth. And, and Jim, in parallel, I'm also a believer, in coming from a large company, we worked in 40 countries around the world, we had many, many, many products. It's nice to be diversified. You know, it's, I don't know if it's a good analogy, but it's kind of like a dog or a pet. You know, the purebreds are nice, but they're a little bit fussy, right? Right. You know, and I like diversity, you know, and I like a lot of legs to stand on and good DNA. And we were kind of a one-product company, and so we started in parallel looking at where our core competencies were, and what are those? You know, like extraction, global commercialization, regulatory affairs, all these things. And we had a whole list of stuff, you know, that we could pursue. Because the idea is, if you do something close to home, you know, the chances of being successful are much better. When you get further afield, it gets riskier. So,
just ask Napoleon.
Well, true. But look at Elon Musk. I mean, I would never get in rocket ships or electric cars. No competence, zero. But we do know health. Rather, we know extraction, regulatory, all those things I mentioned. And cannabis hit our list. This was like 3 years ago, I guess. And so we started the process. A little bit of skunk works within the organization, and it's interesting too. And I don't know if you see this with your other guests or your industry exposure, but I think everyone I talk to in this industry kind of goes through an experience I did, which was initially cannabis. You know, is that who we are? But the more you get into this, the more you realize it is really a wellness category. I mean, the benefits and the conditions that it helps people with, you realize more and more how wonderful this category and how impactful this category could be. And so we decided we would move into it. So long story short is we divested of our krill business, better serving investors by being in segments characterized by growth. Cannabis was the one we chose. We still have a nutrition products business, by the way, but we have a brand new facility in Sherbrooke, Quebec that was doing extraction. And the last probably 10, 12 months we've been investing to convert it to cannabis extraction to make it, you know, of course, in conformance with the regulations, the security and everything. So our site that was a kind of a normal production site now is surrounded by barbed wire and cameras and all the stuff you know. And,
right.
So that's our story. You know.
Interesting. Okay, so essentially you're creating wellness products out of cannabis.
We believe the parallels are striking, you know, because, and it's interesting too, because when you look at what's successful in health, nutrition, and wellness products, it's, I think, what will be the recipe for success in this industry too. And what do I mean by that? It means differentiated products ultimately. So it's not just Me Too products, but rather formulated products designed to deliver against a specific, you know, ambition, whether that's, you know, pain, inflammation, sleep, anxiety, relaxation down the. And I think there'll be more than single entity products. I think there'll be formulated products. I think they'll be formulated with pure substance. And I think they'll be in delivery systems that are attuned to that experience. And I think it'll be backed up with basic research, you know, and I'm not talking about pharma research, but really, you know, kind of user experiences that can demonstrate through data, through things that you could then communicate through the dispensary, through the practitioner, the benefit and the differential of that formulated product.
Okay, so are you basically creating consumer packaged goods targeting the wellness in people and pets?
I think for us, Jim, first and foremost, we are a B2B company. That's our DNA, and that's where we've spent our time and experience. And we're not cultivators, you know, and a lot of people have sometimes, a year ago when we started talking about this publicly, you know, there was this obsession that we weren't cultivators. We don't have competence in cultivation, but we do have competence in extraction, you know, purification, you know, formulation, and the clinical research that goes with that. We are not a consumer brand people, but we do think we are an excellent partner for companies that are motivated for, again, you know, extracted products, you know, purified, formulated with some science that we can work together to commercialize.
Interesting. So if I was a consumer packaged goods expert and I was also a cannabis expert, I would come to you and say, look, I want to create a consumer packaged goods based on wellness extracted products from cannabis.
Well, Jim, I think it's an interesting question, and I think this is a dialogue that's going on with every major multinational around the world. I mean, I come from that world. I have been involved in so many partnerships with these companies in my past career, and it is the conversation today happening with not only consumer product companies, but also the companies that are in the business of servicing those consumer product companies. I think companies have a different tolerance and different level of acknowledgement of where this industry is going. I think Constellation is a great example that is all in, as everybody
absolutely.
knows. And I think there's some companies that are aggressively looking at their strategies. I think others, I call it skunk works, where the guys under the surface are trying to figure it out, but the management's not totally in favor of it. But I think this is fundamentally a global consumer products phenomenon, and I think we will see it dominated ultimately by global consumer products companies and global multinationals that are in support thereof. So.
Okay, so from an investor's perspective, what's your revenue today and what's it looking like 12 months out?
Well, our revenues today approximately mid-20s right now, which is our nutrition products business. Our revenues will kick in our cannabis business, what we've been working towards. So two businesses, nutrition, cannabis. Our cannabis business, we have been working towards what we call convergence. Convergence of site readiness, convergence of commercial agreements, and convergence of the licensing for the business, all towards the fourth quarter of this year. On the site readiness, our first phase has just been completed in September-ish. We've written some commercial agreements, one of whom we published on, which was with Canopy, which is a major long-term agreement. And third is the licensing process, where we've been about 18, 19 months now, and are living the life that I think everyone in this business has lived without Canada, but we think that's imminent right now, and we're in the final innings of that whole process. So our ambitions will be commercializing that very, very shortly.
Okay, so is this going to be a globally distributed phenomenon in your view?
Totally, Jane. Totally. I think, look, let's be real. I mean, there's plenty of opportunity just here in Canada to begin with, but I think when you look at the momentum that's happening in so many countries around the world, whether it be Australia, look, we've done business globally. We know all the companies in these countries that are active players. We talk to them on a regular basis. I think it's on the radar of everybody. I think they're starting to engage on the regulatory front, and I think there's probably an argument to say that many of these countries will pattern after Canada, which is sort of start off with this kind of controlled medical kind of health pharmacy kind of thing, and then as it gets more comfortable, relax, and it'll open up more to
once you know the whole country's not going to rush out and get stoned right away.
That's right. But
which is what happened here.
And I think the U.S., by the way, is an interesting one, and I know you probably talk about that with so many of your guests, but I think in the U.S. context, I mean, it will come. It's just a question of time. When you look at the majority of Republican voters are now in favor of some form of legalization. When you look at what, north of 30 states, James, with some kind of legalization happening on the state level, when you look at the Farm Bill, I think there's a lot of nuances below the surface there that not everyone respects and understands in terms of what is CBD and what is THC, et cetera. But I think the U.S. will come with time as well.
Well, that's an excellent sort of example, is the differentiation between CBD products and THC products. In the United States, many people don't realize that CBD is actually legally distributed in all 50 states through wellness products, as long as it was derived from a hemp plant with below 0.3% THC. Now, I've always found that as a bit misleading, because any cannabis plant can be bred to create sub 0.3 THC, but what does it matter if you can take a plant and concentrate it to whatever percentage of CBD or THC, what the content is at the plant level. So this is, I think, a result of the lack of understanding even in the government, and I think companies like Neptune, as a result, are actually educating government as they go. And so, do you see the CBD business as separate from the THC side of the business?
Well, I think in the Canadian context today, clearly not, given the regulatory frame, of course. And on the government level, absolutely yes. We're trying to do that with the Quebec government right now. I mean, the Quebec government seems to be overtly conservative, and the image in my mind is it's alcoholized tobacco, you know, which is clearly not what this business is, and we have to work harder with regulators and on the provincial level to make sure that it's seen and managed in a way that is conducive to the industry and consumers. I think in the United States, there's a lot of complexity here that I don't think is fully appreciated by many in this industry. I think some, yes, but many not. That in the case of CBD, we are very interested in the descheduling from the DEA through the Farm Bill, but the FDA is still not allowed to support it. Now, there's many companies out there with CBD today, and they're ignoring the FDA guidelines effectively. But so DEA may approve it with the Farm Bill, FDA is still against. Now, FDA does not govern the dispensaries, but Food, Drug, Mass, the FDA has said no, it's not an approved ingredient. And
despite the fact that there are entities selling these things mail order, federally.
Welcome to America. I mean, and look, I was at a lecture with the head of one of the senior deputies in the FDA, and he said, look, we have 24 people in the field to regulate. 24. And we can't effectively police it all. And we'll come for you if you're making egregious claims, cancer, something for children, what have you. But we can't police the whole thing. And if you look at statistics like Nutrition Business Journal as an example, CBD is just short of $400 million business at retail. So it's not federally legal from a DEA perspective, it's not federally legal from an FDA's perspective, yet it's almost a $400 million business. So this is the conundrum of America. What is the consequences of that, Jim? I think is the following. I think what we'll see is dispensary business being very much supported with the Farm Bill, which is good news. I think you'll see regional marketers play a more active role because they'll take the risk. I don't think you'll see major brands and major retailers move in the States on CBD until the dust settles a little bit more. I think we're making good progress regulatory-wise. I think the trade associations are getting behind it and supporting it, but I think it's going to probably need a little bit more time on CBD for the major multinationals to move. That's my gut feel.
Wow. Okay, Jim, clearly we could spend a lot more than 10 minutes talking about this, but 10 minutes is the attention span of the average viewer, so we're going to leave it there for now, but we're going to follow along with interest and develop an understanding of the story, and we'll come back to you very shortly and do this again, so thanks for joining me.
Jim, this is a great, thank you for having us. This is a great industry. We're really excited to be part of it, and we're really happy as Neptune to look to the future and future cannabis businesses.
We'll look forward to following you. Thanks.
All right, man.
How about that? I don't think that I think I'm excited about the fact that Neptune Wealth has switched away from krill oil because, all those dead whales that are washing up on the beaches, pretty sure that's their food that they're making wellness oil out of.
Is this the company that okay, I know, who knows a lot about this is Dave Townsend.
Yeah.
He went on and on about the krill oil.
Yeah, which they've divested themselves of.
Why?
Why? Because they're in the cannabis business now.
Is it a little more lucrative?
It's much more lucrative. It's going to be a lot more lucrative. Oh, look at that little streaming banner across the bottom of the screen. If you had any doubt, as it says there, look at that.
We trade, you may be, never mind.
Right. We are underwater in our portfolio today. Let us tell you, you do not want to try this at home or at the office or anywhere, really. Oh, look at that. I've never seen this before. Finally, some proper disclosure.
Proper disclosure.
Proper disclosure. Anyways, so let's take a look at how some of
Planet 9 there, or whatever it is.
PLTH.
Yeah, it's down 14 cents.
Yeah?
Yeah, that one, I'm not sure they got enough there to keep
Planet
that stock.
13. Well, but let's look at all the stocks
I
today.
said Planet 9, didn't I?
Yeah.
It's Planet 13, no wonder.
Everybody knew what you were talking about, Ed.
Look at this.
I know.
See that little dip at the end?
Yeah, down here?
No, at the very end.
Right.
The last today.
Oh, that's my mouse doesn't work properly.
You know what?
On this
That could be a candidate. Like if a short seller sees this,
yeah,
you know, looks a little toppy.
Looks a little toppy?
Toppy.
Look like it could go back to that down below $1 there, 80 cents.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, we're a long way away. This thing is acted much better than a lot of them. There's a lot of them that are already back down to where I think they just can't come back. They can't escape from Planet of the whatever.
Planet of the Apes. That's a good one, Jimmy. Thank you. I know. No, I'm just
You know
kidding.
what? I think it's now called Planet of the Vapes.
Planet of the Vapes. Ooh, that's good. Planet 13, Planet of the Vapes.
Planet of the Vapes.
That would be a good name for a vape store, don't you think?
Absolutely. And then you put the V, small v, with apes
Capital
and
A.
apes in big capital letters. Planet of the Vapes.
No, I think you'd be better off going V dash.
It's I thought of it, and I'll do it the fuck I want. I'm sorry.
Rude. Edward, language,
No,
please.
no.
This is a G-rated show.
I'm just getting a little pissed off here.
Hey, have you noticed
I'm
that?
getting pushed around.
You're getting pushed around?
Yeah, bullied.
Here, how about I stick my foot over there, give you another push.
Give me a push.
How have you,
Ooh, that's kind of push.
Look at that. Whoa. You remember how, never mind. Let's look at some of the closing ticker here. Aurora Cannabis lost 40 cents to close the day at $7.51. Canopy Growth lost 90 cents today, closed the day at $44.20. And
CanTrust down 30 cents or so.
I know, it's a bit of a bloodbath.
Well, you know what? These big ones move together, and then there's this the sort of not marginal. I don't want to marginalize
marginalize.
But smaller ones can move on specific news, right? Like Planet 13 is near its highs.
Yeah.
As we just saw.
Yeah.
But certainly Aurora has been cut in half.
Yeah.
And yesterday it looked like Afria, or not yesterday or the day before, it was going to go under 10, become single digit.
Yep. Simon Cleary, hi Simon, likes your comment. He says small v, uppercase APES.
There you go.
There you go. That's a vote for you.
Planet
of the Vapes.
Bit of a marketing guru here.
Yep. Well, who you? Okay, so.
Well, what are you thinking there, Big Feet? Is that a
Papa Papist? Papa Papist. He's a papipist. Do you know what that is? Is a piper named Pappy, who's a papipist. Hello, papipist. Welcome to our show. Anyways, he says, are all these small hopefuls just trying to get bought out by Canopy?
Yes. I'd say there's an element of veracity in that man's
veracity
hunch.
An element of je ne sais quoi.
Veracity.
Veracity. Truth.
True.
Truth.
And true that.
True that, but
no, look. There's a few war chests around, and you know what? Maybe what we should do is be spending our time going out with these guys and finding out what they're thinking of doing, and then maybe go load up the truck.
Who?
Well, no, but there's a few war chests that are going to be that are going to be employed to buy and acquire M&A activity, joint ventures, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
We have to get some microphones planted at their dinner tables.
You think?
Well, I don't know if we want to tell anybody that, but I mean, there's going to be takeovers here, especially when some of these things back off like this, and you're sitting with all this money. Like the guy said, Eddie Lucarelli, he said, we don't want to collect 1% interest on our money.
Right. He wants to put it out in the marketplace where it has a chance of compounding.
Although, if you had $100 million sitting in the bank at 1%, that's $1 million a year.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah. Well, that's just the.
I think we got the chart on beer looks very, very positive, and we just talked to Terry Donnelly. In fact, I'm going to give Terry a call. Maybe we'll go out and have some near beer tonight, get a little high.
A near beer tonight. Woof, that sounds positively egregious. Tomorrow, Ed, we've got some big things coming up.
Really?
Yeah.
Like what?
Well,
give me for instance.
We're going to have Steve Meisner back tomorrow, and we're going to talk about super voting structures that the market has been plagued with yesterday.
You know what? That smacks of that. That's
what?
you know, that's a dual playing field, right? Like, in other words, if you've got multiple voting shares.
Well, no, think of it this way. If you're a private individual controlling a public company on a public exchange with the public's money, you're a private company controlling a public entity on a public exchange. That is the crime. Regulators, read my lips. That is not right. That is wrong. Tomorrow we're going to talk about that. Steve's going to tell me...
If I move my head back and forth enough, I get to see it twice.
Oh, then you don't likely quite convinced. Maybe. But if you really didn't believe it, unless you're from India, in which case you'd be like, I do not like to look up their jobs. What? There's nothing wrong with that. That's how some people in some places in India talk. They bob their heads. I think it's great. I think it's so cute.
So you think bobbleheads are coming back into...
Bobbleheads? Now that's just rude, Edward. Coming up tomorrow, I'll be speaking to the CEO of Zenabis, who is now also another one of our clients. And we're going to have the president of Origin House here, Avtar. And what else? We're going to have Dmitry Zaitsev here to give us some insight into the world, the arcane world of options, writing, pulls, calls, puts.
You know why they call it a put?
Yeah.
Because they put the stock to you. They put it to you. And a call, they call it away from you.
No.
That's the truth. That's the truth.
Really? Is that like some 1930s
puts and
bullshit,
calls?
Ed?
No. Why would they call them put? I'm putting the stock to you.
Okay, great.
I'm just saying.
Anyways, big hellos to all of our regular viewers, Waiting in Weed, Reefer AI Joint, Mary Kemp, Joe Briscoe, Big Zini, Sherbinski's, Master 23 Mind.
Tell your friends.
John Famey. Yeah, we want more people. People, come on, we need more people.
We don't want your dogs and cats watching. We want you.
Starting January 15th, 2019, this 1.5 hour show will be preceded by a 1.5 hour show coming out of Los Angeles, California, and we'll be featuring all of the new U.S. cannabis plays who are going to be early stage, publicly traded companies in the future. They're going to be raising money, and this is going to be your chance to get in front of the wave that started in Canada in 2013, and then yes, billionaires will be made. So join us tomorrow. We're back for the end of the week, and have a fantastic evening.